Does Berseria, of all games, really need a remaster? Tales of Berseria returns with enhanced playability and quality of life enhancements. What do you mean returns? The game never left. This game is perfectly playable on PC. So who is this even for? Like, I get that it has been 10 years since this game has come out on PS4, but anybody who wanted to play this game would have already picked it up on sale or something. I mean, buying the remaster is a really good deal if it includes all the DLC, because looking at the store page right now on Steam, the original game and all DLC would cost $165. So if the remaster gives you all the cosmetics at 53 Canadian dollars or 40 USD, that's fine, I guess. But I still have to ask, why? Why would any of the Tales games that are already available on PC be getting a remaster at all? This is so dumb. Just give me Tales of the Abyss already. I'm serious, just port Abyss. I don't even need a remaster or anything, just port the goddamn game. Symphonia and Vesperia already got a million remasters despite coming out before and after Abyss. Xillia keeps getting shoved down my throat, and now Berseria is getting a remaster. That's just unfair. At least port the older games. You can play every single Final Fantasy on PC, so why can't I play Fantasia or Destiny yet? I'll admit, I'm mostly just bitter that every game but Abyss seems to be getting attention. It kind of feels like the Bloodborne of Tales at this point. But no, really, Berseria of all games doesn't need a remaster. What would be the point of making it prettier? It's the character models that are the best parts of this game, and they still look incredible. In fact, they actually look so good that the backgrounds behind them end up looking ugly as all hell. But the game environment was never really the most memorable part of the game for me. Berseria's character models still look striking and the special effects are great. What quality of life enhancements could they have possibly added to make this the definitive experience? I guess there are a couple of things I'd like to see if this is going to be an improved version of the game. If the frame rates are going to be stabilized, that would be great, but they really should have just patched that into the game to begin with. I would like a more modernized UI if we're just doing the cosmetic stuff only. Some of the UI elements like Clash, it's got a very muted palette for the actual bulk of the menu screens. But then it has this like extremely extravagant element of the cursor, which is like, I don't know, it just feels a bit out of place. And I genuinely don't know what kind of quality of life upgrade to the game could actually get. I mean, if Velvet had her speed boost to start with and access to her skateboard earlier in the game, that would be really good. But that's like all I think I really want. The destination marker, I think, it looks like a good idea. That's really just a strict upgrade, but again, you can just patch it into the base game, can't you? Otherwise, a conversation log, that would be really good. I think all text-heavy games really just need to have this baked in. Time Stranger and Hades 2 have probably spoiled me here by putting it in their games, even though they're not even visual novels. But like, yeah, no, the Tales games can really do with a conversation log. And yeah, that's kind of all I can think of that I would make it meaningfully better to play an upgraded definitive version over Berseria. So again, I just have to ask, what is the point of this? Berseria is a game that I don't really like too much out of all the Tales games I played, so I might be biased against it, but I genuinely still think the game holds up perfectly well as it is right now. In fact, I think its writing and overall characterization is better than modern games like Arise. Arise has characters that have extremely expressive faces, sure, but Berseria has characters that have some of the best character acting I've ever seen. I love Savid, he's like a huge dick, but every time he's on screen, he's really fun to watch, and then the characters really have fantastic dynamics with each other. Laufeyset's relationship to all the party members are really fun to witness, so I like that stuff. I mean, if you love these characters, this is probably the best Tales game to people who enjoyed it, but it's not really my cup of tea. But even I can really rave about how good and entertaining they are in a lot of these scenes. I'm kind of envious of Berseria because I wish other games I play and that I like more can have this level of characterization. But again, you got it as it is right now in the base game. A remaster isn't going to improve the characterization here. And while like the graphics aren't really as crazy pretty as the newest game, Arise, it's not like they're distractingly bad or dated like older Tales titles either. Berseria's textures right now are really freaking ugly though, so maybe this is a good thing. But again, I've never really expected my Tales games to look pretty as all hell. Persona 5 came around the same time that this game did, and it looks 10 times better, but it's not like I bought Persona 5, I bought Berseria, okay? Because I'm stupid. Arise looking as good as it does was honestly something I never saw coming, but I'm pretty sure that all that pretty texturing kind of came at the cost of everything else in that game. Arise's cutscenes are bland as all hell if there's no fighting or conflict on scene. And I really don't like the skits. Using the models instead of the anime renders was not a choice I appreciated. I mean, I could admit that it probably comes with the added flexibility to pose the models as needed, but I'm just not a fan. On the other hand, Berseria has way too many skits, but at least the skits tend to have a lot more energy in that game. And I prefer the anime renders. They just look a lot cleaner in my opinion and much more vibrant. Like this just feels more lively. I really can't imagine that the Berseria remaster is going to be able to do much to improve them. But I mean, it's 40 USD, so not a bad price if you are playing this game for the first time. I bought the PS4 version of the game, so I probably prefer to play it on PC right now. I'd probably buy it again, so I guess I'm asking who it's for, but it's probably for me. I'll play it. But I have to wonder who else is gonna play it. I mean, my best guess is that they want to capture some of the new audience that played Arise. Arise is supposedly the best-selling Tales game, apparently, with a total of 3 million units sold as of 2024. I can't really find any more recent numbers, so this is the best I got for now. And I'm not actually sure if this is the best-selling Tales game or if it's like the fastest-selling Tales game. And then Berseria is probably the second best selling game at 2.5 million units, again, as of 2024. So there's a 500,000 unit difference between the sales numbers of Arise and Berseria. Now, I'm just gonna assume most people who played Arise probably already played Berseria, but I highly doubt they'll be able to capture like that 500,000 copy difference with the Berseria remaster. I'm looking at this old Silicon Era article. Berseria sold about 250,000 units in its launch week in Japan. That was in the August of 2016. I mean, at 2.5 million now, it's obviously done much better since its launch 10 years ago, having now sold 10 times the amount of units as its launch week. So I can see the remaster probably still getting sales longer down the line, and if that's what they're banking on, I can imagine that releasing a remaster sooner is better than releasing it later to kind of like, I guess, reinvigorate the series a little bit. Give it like some extra relevance in the modern scene, I suppose. And it would be good to have like a better version of the game for newcomers to the series. And it does seem like it's mostly gameplay changes here to make it a bit more accessible. I'm looking at the website for the remaster, and it does actually boost Velvet's walk speed by 20%, so that's really good. And then the grade shop at the beginning is really good for repeat players especially, but I would probably like it if I can port my save somehow, since I do also have the PC version of this game. Might end up having 3 copies of this game actually by the time a remaster comes out. The remaster is also bringing a skip function for cutscenes and a retry battle option for failed battles. So that's pretty good. You can remap buttons, good. You can straight up just turn random encounters off, perfect. You now get subtitles for Battle Banter and Mystic Art, so that's really good. For me, especially who's deaf, I can't understand shit that anybody says. So yeah, I mean, if there are fans like me who are kind of missing the series, I can see people buying a remaster or rebuying a game that they already own. I'd probably like to do this myself at some point, so I can see it. I mean, if even 50,000 people buy the remaster on Steam, at 40 USD, that's still a crisp $2 million for a game that looks like it's really just going to be a patch. And then after the Steam storefront's fee, taking a 30% cut of the sales, like Bandai would still be getting a $1.4 million. So that's still a pretty decent amount of money, I'd say, right? I mean, probably not a lot, but they'll do better than 50,000 over the lifetime, I'm pretty sure. On top of that, I'm confident the game isn't really not going to cost that much to remaster. But I mean, it's also hard to say how much it would cost. I mean, would it cost $1 million in maybe a year of development? I don't know, maybe half of that? If I had to guess, developing the remaster probably takes a small fraction of the time and size of the original team. Though, without knowing how much the budget of the original game even is, it's not like I can really assume if it's good value for them to be doing this, but it definitely has to be. Like, there's no way it costs that much money to remaster this. But how much did Berseria cost to make? I'm struggling to find any concrete information here, so let me look back at Zestiria first. I don't know definitively, but I'm pretty sure a lot of assets and the systems developed for Zestiria is being used and adapted into Berseria in some ways. Berseria's development started in 2014 as per producer Yasuhiro Fukaya, and it took about 22 months. And as for that producer, the development team always works with the Tales of engine. So it's like some kind of in-house engine, I guess, that gets developed with each title, supposedly. So Arise is the first of the games to actually use Unreal Engine 4, but supposedly every game before that was using some version of their in-house Tales of engine. Now, for me, almost definitively, I'm pretty sure that like Zestiria and Berseria have the closest iterations of this engine in use, which makes sense. They play very similarly. They have a lot of similar mechanics. So that's a good thing for development to have like that front-loaded work removed and to be able to adapt whatever Zestiria was using. I do think that's pretty good for them to take advantage of that. The size of the teams are kind of more up for debate. One website I'm looking at from SNES Music is showing about 120-ish people working on the core game of Berseria, but then the The Moby Games website gives them a credit roll of over 600. From what I can tell, the core Bandai team, like prior to outsourcing and adding third-party development teams, it looks like the core team is closer to 120 people. So there's that. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge. I'm just going to kind of assume the core team, like we're going to use the core team as a guideline here on estimating the development costs. Like let's say 110 people-ish of the core Bandai Namco team worked here on Berseria at average to low end salaries, which is about 5 million yen, it looks like. So we'll just sub in 5 million yen to 50,000 USD because that's easier for me to work with. And we're going to use that as our average salary. So 110 people with a development cycle of about 2 years being paid 50,000 USD, that would come out to 11 million US dollars. Now, that's just like raw estimated developer salaries for the core team, so not including any third-party contractors or any additional assets that they had to get or anything, not including marketing and whatever not, or pay differences between directors and other upper positions. So I mean, let's assume that we also have maybe an upper end of the spectrum here of a 200-person team with the same other parameters. That would still put the game at about $22 million. Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of low compared to like Western games, especially if the actual credit count there is closer to 600 people for having worked on the game. But honestly, it might not actually be super unrealistic either, given how much the leaked cost of the Pokemon Switch games are. Pokemon Sword also has a large number of people credited on Moby Games at 732 people, but supposedly the Sword and Shield's core team also had 200 or so people on it, so that's about equivalent to what I'm looking at for Berseria as well. And that number is coming from Shigeru Omori and his interview with Polygon. That's Shigeru Omori is the director. So he says 1,000 people were involved with the creation of Sword and Shield, but the core Game Freak team itself was about 200 people. So that tracks. You know, I mean, looking at other JRPGs of the similar caliber, I guess that's not actually that strange then to have a number smaller than like 30 million. I'm thinking that for Berseria specifically, it's probably no more than $25 million, especially if you're running a 2-year development time like the Tales games are. So let's maybe like throw in a couple of million for marketing, and let's just assume Berseria costs roughly between $15 million to make and $35 million to make. I mean, yeah, with a lot of estimates, it's a pretty wide range and not a very sound methodology. This is literally all speculation, but at least it's something. And it kind of tracks with the leaked budget of Pokemon Sword and Shield, so maybe it's not too far off. Now, for Berseria, considering that the game across all platforms has sold 2.5 million copies, even if each copy only sold for like $40 on average, that's still $100 million over 8 years from 2016 to 2024. I think that's probably still a bit generous. I can't imagine that it actually earned that much. I mean, it's a big number. I can't really believe it or wrap my head around that. So let's revise the average sale cost down to maybe even as low as $20 per copy of Berseria. And then again, that's still a $50 million return over 8 years if it sold 2.5 million copies. And that's still like before fees such as the storefront fees of PlayStation and Steam and whatever. So let's use Steam's 30% cut as a guideline here and take out 30% of that 50 million return. That's still $35 million. As a note, Steam's storefront specifically does take a progressively smaller cut per unit once you hit a certain revenue threshold. After $10 million in revenue, Steam doesn't take 30%, it only takes 25%. And then after $50 million in revenue, Steam doesn't take any more than 20%. So there's so many variables and very many factors here. There's no way to get an accurate estimate going. Oh my gosh. But let's assume that after all the cuts and fees, the game still earned like $35 million. If it cost $35 million to make, that's not a huge return. So let's hope it made more than that and cost less than that. But again, these are just estimates. There's no really easy way to determine how much it earned or made, especially because I don't know if the sales are like weighted more towards PC or other consoles. It's like, there's just not a lot of information on this stuff. I need more research, but it's really hard to find anything to compare it to. The best thing I have is literally just that leak for the Pokemon game. So still, the Tales of games seem very similarly cheap to make. And like, it seems like Bandai probably made a decent amount of money on the game over a long period of time. I'm assuming they put maybe a fraction of the team on the remaster for a much smaller and quicker turnaround. The developer of the remaster is DAG Inc., looking based off the Steam page. So it's been outsourced. It's not the core Bandai team working on this, which is, yeah, a smart move. And looking at some of the other things I've worked on, DAG has worked on Princess Peach Showtime as one of the more recent credits. Based off the staff credits for that game, it looks like DAG kind of brings in mostly 2D and 3D directors and designers. So they mostly work as third-party contractors. Kirby games, I got Final Fantasy VII remakes on their list here. They've worked on Forspoken. They worked on WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I'm pulling all of this from the credits listed on mobygames.com. So yeah, this seems like a crazy good database for staff credits, actually. It's really interesting to go through and see what they've been involved in. Based on the website for DAG, they have about 240 employees in total. And then just from looking at the staff credits that I've looked at for the games that they've worked on, they typically seem to bring anywhere between 5 to 30 staff members onto projects. So it seems like they usually take small teams onto these third-party contracts that they're getting. So far, the standout project for them looks like it's kind of been Princess Peach. It looks like they brought in closer to 60 people for this project, and it seems like they are primarily responsible for the animations in this game. So they have a pretty strong graphical presence, just looking at the credits, compared to the other games that they seem to have been involved in. Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like DAG stands for Digital Artists Guild, so it does seem like they're focused on the artistic and animation side of things, so yeah. I can't seem to find any standalone projects though, so I'm curious if this is the first time that they are presumably a lead developer for anything, because it kind of seems like they are. No other, as far as I can tell, developer has been listed for the Berseria remaster. So it seems like they might be taking point for the remaster here and taking charge of this project. I mean, I'm sure Bandai's still going to have other support teams involved, so I doubt it's going to be solely DAG, but who knows? It's worth revisiting the credits once the remaster actually comes out. I'm really actually kind of curious. Okay, now Xelia's remaster lists 800 names in the credits, which is over double the original headcount of the original game. But if we take out all the marketing roles and admin roles, as well as the voice talent credit, it seems like the bulk of the remaster for Xelia. It's hard to tell, but it looks like it was about 60 or so people that were actively a part of the Xelia remaster development. Maybe 70 or 80 if I really counted. The development support from Bandai lists 10 people as well, so I think 70 to 80 might actually be closer to the right headcount here. So not a huge team for the Xelia remaster. I'm imagining the turnaround might have been less than a year. Optimistically, I want to say 6 to 8 months, but that's just based on my personal assumptions and no real substance. But I would love to get my hand on this information somehow. I wonder. Whatever, that's a rabbit hole for another time. So assuming a similar amount of people would work for the Berseria remaster, I would assume maybe at most 70 people would be involved. Probably less in my opinion, because Berseria is made on a newer generation of consoles, so I'm hoping that kind of means there's a reduction of friction for accessing older assets, because Xelia was originally made for the PS3 over 15 years ago. Then again, I believe Berseria also released on PS3 in Japan, so maybe it's about the same. I don't know. Maybe who knows? So maybe like 80 people is my estimate about who's going to be working on the remaster, but I'll revisit that at some point. Maybe later at some point. But yeah, no, I'm guessing once DAG finishes the Berseria remaster, it's almost certain that they're going to be doing the Hysteria one after. Like, especially if Berseria is using the same assets and engine as Hysteria, it would just make sense to keep the same team on to do Hysteria after. But that game, Hysteria needs like a serious overhaul, not just a bare bones remaster, but that's... I would have really expected the Hysteria remaster to come out before the Berseria one did, because it's the older game, but given how Abyss has been skipped for Vesperia at every opportunity, maybe it's not that surprising that Berseria is the one to get the remaster. And I would agree, it's probably a smart move to push Berseria instead. In my opinion, it's probably one of the strongest entries of the series, even though I personally don't really like it. If I had to recommend any Tales game to a new one, it would probably be Berseria. But I don't want a Berseria remaster. I just want a full-on Abyss port. I have like this insane delusional dream that the reason they aren't releasing anything for Abyss anymore is because they're doing like a full-on remake, like Diablo 2 remastered or Metal Gear Solid 3 or like the Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver type thing. Like the Abyss remake is going to be so good. It's going to be the most wonderful, perfect project ever and flawless, and it's coming out in the next like 6 months. Awesome. I'm sure of it. I really wish it was true. Whatever. If we can just either bring back Abyss or stop doing remasters, please. Bring a new game or bring back Abyss. I don't want any more of these.